Hi, folks. Welcome to the IWCT show. Day two was another day that delivered quite the fascinating contest, I'd say, between India and Australia.
Yes.
Most of the predictions that we sort of made yesterday, at least what Ashwin did, came true, right? Australia did make merry on that surface. We did think they'd go and stretch that lead to a lot more. I mean, at
True.
one stage, they were 58 for three. They
Hmm.
were in early trouble as well. The way they sort of, dug themselves out of trouble, right? Thanks to that lovely partnership between Ellyse Perry and Annabel Sutherland, who just seems to be taking to, Test cricket like a duck takes to
Yes. Oh
water
my
itself,
God.
right?
Yes.
And eventually, all of that effort led them to get to 323 and a crucial, right, first innings lead of 125. We did think it would be a lot more, but again, India's bowling, quite delivering there. The four-wicket haul by Sayali Satghare and a
Hmm.
lot of fielding lapses. A lot of things just happened there. India's second innings panning out in a very, very depressing fashion. We will talk a lot about that. And to all the folks joining us in the live chat, hey there, we see your comments. We will take it very, very shortly. And I once again have one half of Cricket by JB joining me. That's Ashwin here.
Yes.
Let's see, how this conversation goes before, both of us go into rant mode like
Hmm.
yesterday.
Of
Ashwin,
course.
first thoughts on today's day of play. Kind of sort of unexpected lines, but India's batting collapsing the way it did. Unexpected.
Yeah, I thought you summed it up pretty well. But yeah, to answer your question, the batting collapse was not expected at all. I thought some of the shot making was a bit disastrous. And I know we'll get into it, but I thought, right, you summed the day up very, very well. It's something we talked about yesterday, how if in the first 30 to 45 minutes today, if it's not going to assist the bowlers, Australia might just take it away. But to be fair, 323 is not all that bad because the way Annabel Sutherland and Ellyse Perry were going on, I was scared about a 400 target, but that did not happen. We are stuck at 323. And I thought we could possibly, with the bat, make some dents today. But yeah, that did not happen again. And I know we'll get into it. But yeah, it's too. By the end of the day, it was quite disappointing. But halfway through, after the innings that Australia had, I had a bit of optimism, but that was taken away quite quickly.
Yeah, a lot of things going wrong in that regard. But let's just look at Australia's batting effort itself, right? They
Yes.
did end up with 323. They were 58 for 3 early on when they ended, right?
Hmm.
Day one. Again, Ashwin, how big do you think, that psychological shift was in the way they just went about proceedings today? Ellyse Perry and Annabel Sutherland, once they, sort of settled in and the partnership itself that they stitched in, right? Quite
Yeah.
literally making the most of the 30, 40 minutes of play early on that you were emphasizing on yesterday.
Yeah, true. I think again, taking nothing away from them, they know the conditions quite well, right? They've played ping ball tests before, they've experienced, they know that the best time to bat is in the morning. Because again, we'll get into it, when India started batting again, it was the worst time to bat during the day because it's under lights. And I thought Annabel Sutherland and Ellyse Perry took that to advantage. They took their time in the beginning, few minutes, few overs, and then every time they could attack, they attacked, and every time they could put the ball away, they did, because they knew that this is the best opportunity to bat. And we saw that with batters coming in as well. But I mean, I know we'll get into it, but like Beth Mooney's dismissal, it almost seemed like it was coming and coming, and there was a lot of sloppy fielding that you also already talked about. But yeah, the way Annabel Sutherland and Ellyse Perry took the attack to the opposition is a great display of batting, especially in test match, when you know that in the evening things are going to get difficult for the batters. Might as well make full use of it while you can.
Yeah, 100% true there. And probably just take a pause here to talk about the conditions itself, Ashwin. The
Yes.
pink ball, right, at the WACA, it does offer like a lot of movement early on. We did see, right, both teams
Yep.
sort of exploited. But again, I think seemed to ease out a lot later, right, as the day progressed itself. Do you think the conditions itself sort of dictated the flow of the innings? Like once Australia got into control, they really made a lot of it. And you can owe a lot of that to the conditions.
Yeah, I think the conditions, I think it played similar to yesterday, to be very, very honest. I think it was easier to bat in the beginning, where India made a fool of themselves. And then Australia came on to bat in the end, where it was difficult to bat, and India bowled quite well. And we saw those 3 wickets fall. And I think the same happened today, where the conditions are good to bat, except the Australian side, especially with Ellyse Perry and Annabel Sutherland, with the experience that they have, they made full use of it. And then by the end of the day's play, when it got tougher, it became tougher for the batters. And I do want to say that India were unlucky in the sense that they got the difficult side of the day to bat, but they did that to themselves also. So, but yeah, what can you say? But you're right. I think the conditions did dictate the scoreboard today, especially today. If you look at the scoreboard, that's also because of how the conditions played out.
Honestly, yeah, because women's test matches are just, 4-day affairs. So day two becomes
Yeah.
all the more important in that. When
Yes.
I somewhere felt, Australia seized momentum to the best of their abilities. But let's look at these knocks in isolation. Let's start off with Ellyse Perry itself. Scored a brilliant 76, broke so many records in the process. The 1,000 runs test,
Hmm.
no, the 1,000 runs bracket as well. Becoming the
Yep.
highest run getter for Australia in the process. I mean, again, right? This reminds you of that classic stabilizing sort of a test. Now, Ashwin, again, how important, right, was her composure in setting the platform for Australia and to just pave the way for Annabel Sutherland to do her thing side by side.
That Yeah, that is true. I think we saw Elise Perry walk in yesterday. We saw her struggle in the first few overs. But what was important is that even though she was fetching few balls outside the off man, we talked about this yesterday. She was centimeters away from getting out. It didn't get to her, right? She was still sticking to her game. She was sticking to the basics, and she got through the day. And then she came out today doing the same thing. She's technically a very solid batter, and because she can't bowl, I know. I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming she would put a lot of pressure on herself to score a lot of runs, and for her to come out today and bat the way she did, I thought was extremely fruitful for Annabel Sutherland, because Annabel Sutherland could just play her natural game, attack when she wanted to, take her time when she wanted to. And I think to have Elise Perry on the other end, knowing that you have such an experienced batter on the other hand, you can just play your natural game, and that's exactly what Elise Perry offered, especially as a number three batter. I don't think the number three bat is emphasized as much in women's test cricket, and I think it should. It's a very important role. We see Pratika Rawal do that, and now I mean, not now, we've seen Elise Perry do that for a long time, but we saw her do that today. And yeah, I think it was very important for her to stabilize and make sure that wickets weren't fallen in the first 30 minutes or even the first 15 minutes, making sure that Australia was still on top.
Yeah, I mean, an absolute travesty that she didn't get to her century, a well
That's
crafted
true.
knock in
Yes.
that way. And at the other end was Annabel Sutherland, right? Someone who has been dubbed as the next Ellyse Perry in the line.
Yep.
And Test cricket is a format she absolutely loves, right? Every third minute, the broadcasters were just, panning at her, having a look at her statistics itself. And at Perth itself, right? Her numbers are just mind boggling, to
Oh
say the
yeah.
least. And
Insane.
living up to the reputation itself, right? A superb 129 coming from her bat. Ashwin, what really stood out to you, right, about the way she just built her innings? Because I just felt like once she settled in and reached that 100, India did, sort of run out of ideas tactically,
True.
strategically, in terms of field positions and just
True.
bowling plans, right?
Yeah. I mean, for starters, she has an average of 83 with the bat in test cricket. She has a bowling average of 29. Incredible numbers, by the way. Today, she had a strike rate of 75 by the end of the innings. So I know strike rate is not all that important, but goes to show how attacking she was, because a strike rate of 75 as compared to any other batter in the batting lineup was the highest. And yeah, talking about how she went about, I think something that really stood out to me is how she played Deepti Sharma and Sneh Rana. The way she used the way she used the crease, going in depth whenever she had to, striding forward. I think that's so important, even though this isn't like a turning track, this isn't like an India, but even then you have to reach the pitch of the ball, you have to respect the delivery, you have to play with the line of the ball, and that's exactly what she did. I think, of course, she knows how to play the fast bowlers, she's been brought up doing that, but it was the her playing the experienced Deepti Sharma and Sneh Rana. They are not inexperienced. They are not making their debuts. They've been playing for a very long time. And even if it's in Australia, they can get wickets. They know how to get wickets. But it's the fact that she could counter attack these two spinners that really stood out to me.
Yeah, agreed with you. And even that partnership with Ellyse Perry, a 128 run stand, right? Really proving how important it was, right? Because I think after that partnership itself, right, it really
Yes.
flipped the game. For you,
Yes.
again, when you just look at that partnership, was it just more about being patient and, letting India feel that pressure a lot, right? It was not like they were doing extraordinary things. A lot of
True.
running in between, just maneuvering the field really well, thanks to a lot of, fielding lapses and
Yeah.
concentration problems that the fielders were facing itself. But again, just classic test batting, right? Both
Yep.
displayed.
Yeah, I think it was just sticking to the basics, right? Like you said, rotating strike whenever they possibly could, making sure that they were running hard between wickets, making sure that they were hitting the gaps, making sure that they were testing patience. Like, I mean, Harmanpreet Kaur, I felt like her patience was tested today with the amount of bowling changes at one point she did. And that's exactly what you do, right? In the test format. And I was surprised, Harmanpreet Kaur, I felt like she was under pressure a little bit. And I was surprised because she's experienced. She's played test cricket for a bit. But yeah, it did feel like she was under pressure as a captain. And like you said, it's getting the basics right. Testing the patience of the opposition is the basic thing to do in a test match. And that's exactly what that partnership did. I was so worried that we were going to see not a lead, but we were going to see a innings score of more than 400. But you're right. After that partnership, a lot of things turned around.
Yeah, you'd expect, right? Once a base like this is set, the rest of the batters would really capitalize from there, and that's where I think Australia really lost the plot, right? Massively. Beth
Yes.
Mooney for that regard, like a very scrappy 19 of 53. Then the likes of Ash Gardner,
Yep.
T Mac, just falling in quick succession. Again, just what do you make of that itself, right? That the lower middle order, so to say, sort of just left that innings very abruptly, and that potential wasn't just reached or even breached in this case.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny. So I really do want to talk about Beth Mooney because her innings was quite funny to me. Because she gave a catch to Sneh Rana in first slip, Deepti Sharma bowling. I think it was twice in a row. She was dropped twice. I mean, there was two drop catches. I'm not sure about the first drop, but the second to Sneh Rana, a sitter which she dropped. But after that, it seemed like Beth Mooney didn't want to play Deepti Sharma at all. Like she had no intention. She would look to take that single as even when it was those singles were risky, she would just run, just drop in and run. In retrospect, when you think about it as a batter, it's pretty smart. If you're uncomfortable with the bowler, you just want to get off strike, and she was able to do that. But while doing that, she forgot about the other spinner, and that's Sneh Rana, and then she gave us wicket away to Sneh Rana. But yeah, it was very funny to me for an experienced batter like Beth Mooney. For her to just seem like she just didn't want to be there when Deepti Sharma was bowling was very funny to me. Deepti Sharma was all over her, and then she gets out to the other spinner, and that's what you do as a spinning duo. All right, and yeah, the middle order, yeah, it I was very surprised by the crumble. I'm going to be very honest. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect Ashley Gardner to get out the way she did. And then the tail end, it's not really a tail end, but like technically quote unquote tail end of the Australian side just crumbling. But to be fair, Alana King and Lucy Hamilton, they had a bit going, and I thought those runs were quite crucial for them. 20 odd by both of them. Alana King scored 21, Lucy Hamilton 23 to be more specific. But yeah, those were very, very crucial runs for the Australian side.
Yeah, agreed. Because although it felt like these batters fell in quick succession, the fact that Alana King, who comes in with that reputation of being that pinch hitter, can get you a few runs. Lucy
Yep.
Hamilton too, right? We've seen her right through her domestic days, age group cricket as well, even in the WBBL doing her thing. I think
Yeah.
runs from their bat was really crucial, right? It stretched the lead even further. Again, you did point out, right, that they were valuable runs itself. But just what do you make of India's bowling at that point in time? Because if they didn't get those wickets, again, we saw like, missed opportunities in the field there. But
Yeah.
again, India's bowling in that phase and, versus them being so good in those, other middle overs where they got those, middle order wickets. What do you make
Yeah,
of that
true.
comparison?
And one more thing. So if you're, I'm going to praise the Indian bowlers because at that point they were doing well. Something else I do want to praise because we criticized that a lot yesterday was India's using the reviews. Today they had an opportunity to take one which they didn't take, which I thought was a good take. And even with Ellyse Perry, which was given not out and they reviewed it and that was given out, at that point I thought, hey, India's doing well with their reviews. And I'm like, what a turnaround from yesterday. There might be some positives, and then we saw what we saw. But yeah, the Indian bowlers, I thought after breaking the partnership were quite tight. I thought whoever first after the partnership, I thought Harmanpreet Kaur got a bit of confidence back into her bowlers and the bowling lineup, and I thought the changes that she made was quite crucial. The fact that Sneh Rana and Deepti Sharma both bowled 17 overs, and Kranti Gaur didn't bowl a lot of overs as compared to yesterday, which was again surprising for me. But I don't know if it's an injury thing. I was just surprised that she didn't bowl as much, or maybe Harmanpreet Kaur just wanted the spinners to bowl a lot. 17 overs each on a day is no joke, and then to get the opposition out is a great deal. And their experience, they did quite well. They held their line and length. And I also think Deepti Sharma and Sneh Rana, technically they're quite different, even though the description might be the same. Like they might be the same kind of spinners, but the way they go about bowling spin is very, very different. And I thought Harmanpreet Kaur used both of them very, very well. And then we also
Yeah.
saw Shafali Verma bowl that 5 overs, and she also got a wicket. So good on her.
Yeah, Shana's actually going to get to India's bowling side of things. It's good you got the conversation started because I really wanted to, highlight Sayali Satghare. She was
Yes.
just brilliant, right? Four
Yes.
wickets on debut, key
Yes.
breakthroughs, right? And she was bowling like, just a bowler or bowling on another surface itself. What
Yep.
impressed you largely, about her spell and just keeping India in the contest, although, there were just lots of ebbs and flows and ups and downs that were happening?
Yeah, so yesterday we talked about this again. I'm sorry I keep going back to yesterday, but like India started bowling yesterday. Sally Satghare yesterday, she impressed me because on debut playing pink ball test for the very first time, she was able to control swing, and that was very, very impressive because she was able to swing a lot and she was able to keep that in control. Today, what impressed me is even though she wasn't getting a lot of assistance, she was consistent, and that is no joke. I feel like sometimes people forget that these guys don't play a lot of days cricket, so they don't really have to be consistent because they play a ODI cricket where, yeah, sure, you have to be consistent in one or two spells, and then you come back and you have your slower balls, you bowl it all over the place, and then you have your T20 cricket where consistency might just be the doom of your bowling. But in Test cricket, you have to be consistent, and that's what she was. And I think that's what stood out to me. I think she was the most statistically. I'm not too sure. We back ourselves on stats, but I would want to say by looking at what I've looked at, I think Sayali Satghare would have been the most consistent Indian bowler in terms of line and lets. Now I might be wrong, but my eye test suggests so.
Yeah, and again, just continuing our discussion on the bowling side of things as well. You had Kranti God and Deepti Sharma as well, right? Chip in with
Yes.
wickets there. Did you think, like, at large, India just managed their bowling resources really well? And the way this duo went about their stuff, impressed?
Yeah, I was impressed. Like you said, when the partnership was going on, I thought they didn't have a clue about what they were doing. I think they were playing a lot of catch up cricket. And you see that sometimes in test matches, and that's fine. Like the opposition are there to win too, and so they will also do things. But yeah, I just thought when the partnership was going, they didn't have a plan. I didn't think they came up with a plan C or plan D. They might have come up with two plans, and once that didn't work, they didn't know what to do. But yes, once that wicket fell, I think the duo worked quite well. I was still surprised by the fact that Krantika didn't bowl as many overs or like enough overs, to be honest. I thought she could have been given a lot more overs. She's attacking as a natural bowler. But yeah, apart from that, yes, the Indian bowlers, I thought after the partnership were quite impressive. They stuck to their line and length, did their basics well. I think Sneh Rana impressed me a little more than Deepti Sharma, also because I feel like I'm taking Deepti Sharma for granted. She's been doing this for so long. But Sneh Rana was just impressive because she hasn't had the best white ball form. She isn't in the best white ball form. So see her do that in the red ball or the pink ball now format. It's just nice to see.
Yeah, refreshing for sure in that way. And again, talking about Shafali Verma, right? Again, not a news flash or something very important, but I
Yes.
think the fact that she did take that partnership, right, with Meghna was
Yes.
slightly unexpected there. Again,
Yeah.
Ashwin, how useful do you think, right? Just having part-time options can be in Test cricket, and Shafali Verma really showing she has a golden arm there, can get
Yeah.
you those wickets on
Yeah.
on SOS.
I think these part-time spinners in a test cricket can really disrupt the flow of the game because as a batter, you would be facing Sayali Satghare and you would tell yourself, focus, watch the ball. And then the second you see Shafali Verma come in to bowl, your guard might just go down a little bit. Like you might just say, right, I'll just get through this over. I still have to focus, but I'll get through this over. Whereas other bowlers, you wouldn't say I'll get through this over because you'll remind yourself to focus each ball. And this can happen sometimes. And that especially again, McGrath is not tail ender, but still she can bat, she can hold the bat, she can score a lot of runs. But still, when you see a part-time bowler come in, you just have the guard down a little bit, and then you're like, hey, and then you give your wicket away, and then you're walking back thinking, how did I do this?
And yeah, even just looking at India's bowling strategy itself, right? They did rotate through like six bowlers, including
Yes.
the part-time option in Shafali Verma itself. When you look at it, right, do you think the constant bowling changes itself sort of, disrupted the rhythm, or was
Yeah.
India just, desperately searching for breakthroughs, and Harman felt like this would be like the ideal approach to go in with?
I was going to come to that. I might sound like a hypocrite because I just said that she rotated her bowlers quite well, but I didn't think she rotated her bowlers. Okay, no, I didn't think she gave her bowlers enough time to get that consistency. So you do expect that from Sneh Rana and Deepti Sharma because they're in not in form because they're experienced, so they get into it right away. But when you look at even like Shafali Verma, she got 5 overs, albeit she's a part-time spinner. But even Sayali Satghare or Kashvi Gautam, I think the constant changing shouldn't have happened. I just thought she should have given one bowler enough time. Something we talked about yesterday was making sure the spinners hold one end, and I didn't think that happened. And I don't know why that's a bad ploy. I thought that's a good ploy. That's what they should have done. Fast bowlers could have been given a go from one end while the spinners held one end, but that didn't happen today. I was very surprised by it. But I was slightly disappointed by how fast the bowlers were being changed because it's not the white ball format. But I mean, the bowlers did what they could at that point.
Yeah, very true. And I think when the bowlers are bowling that well, right, you need that support coming in
Yes.
from the fielders
Yep.
as well. And here's where I think we should really, properly discuss what just happened in the field there. So many costly misses there, a lot of missed chances, miscommunication.
Yeah.
Australia's lower order just added those valuable runs itself. Do you think those fielding errors itself just hurted India so much, right, in the context of Australia reaching 323? Was it just a lot about like not being prepared, playing in these sort of conditions itself? Like, just how do you contextualize that sort of a fielding effort, man?
Yeah, Absolutely. See, the thing is, if this happened at night, we could possibly make excuses. Pink ball at night, twilight, yeah, you can't see and all of that. This happened in broad daylight, right? And regardless of the color of the ball, you have to be good enough to take those catches to make sure you're fielding well. That's the most basic thing as a team. As a cricket team going onto the field, going to bowl, the least you have to do is take the catches. Now, you could have a bad day as a fielder. You can't possibly have a bad day as a team, and unfortunately, we have seen this. Unfortunately, we have seen this across formats. And I don't know what it is. I would be interested to know. This is digressing a little bit. I would be interested to know the amount of drop catches that just internationally, and has that increased over the last couple of years across countries. But yeah, India has always had this problem. I had hope last year that we've improved, but in the World Cup, we saw we haven't really. And then we did see a couple of improvements in the WPL, but we also saw a lot of drop catches. I was hoping, as this Indian team unites itself for this test match, that things would change a little bit. But yeah, these drop catches is it's always been a conversation, and I hope in time it's not. But yeah, today, yeah, every drop catch was costly except for Beth Mooney. She made a fool of herself there, unfortunately. But yeah, I think those drop catches and those misfields and yeah, like you said, this miscommunication will just hurt India in the end, because it's those small runs that add up to 323, right? 323, correct? Yeah, 323. Yes.
Yeah, because Australia did end up, posting that massive total of 323. Let's call it massive, right? Because
It
taking a
is, yeah.
125 runs lead,
Yep.
considering they were in that sort of a situation itself. Ashwin, again, not looking at India's batting performance here, did you think that 125 run lead was actually a good one? And Australia sort of, really had that advantage when India's coming out to bat?
Australia did have an advantage only because I was scared how Indian batters would go about under lights because of what happened yesterday. I don't think 120 is the largest total on the board. I honestly thought they would easily get around 200 with that partnership going on, but they didn't, and I thought India pulled it back nicely. The only reason I would say Australia still had the advantage is because they're the Australian team, but also because the Indian batters would have to bat under lights. And if we saw the display that we saw yesterday morning when the batting conditions were quite nice, I was genuinely worried about how Indian batters would go about under lights.
And I think all of our apprehensions and fears sort of just came to
Ah,
fruition, right?
yes.
Just let's talk about the early collapse that India had with their batting effort itself. Losing Smriti
Yep.
Mandhana and Shafali Verma inside 2 overs is just far from ideal, right? You could immediately sense that the entire Indian batting lineup was just under so much pressure. Pratika, coming out all outshot. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure, girl is not ready to just walk out so soon.
Yeah. Yep.
How damaging was that start? And again, Smriti Mandhana falling in a very similar fashion. I'd say,
Yep.
albeit a little unlucky in that situation. Yet, worst possible start there.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. There's. I don't think anyone will disagree. Worst possible start. I want to say something on Smriti. I think you asked me yesterday. I mean, and you only asked me, but I don't know if it was from the comments or if it was you. But we talked about how is Smriti just not in form, or is it like just a slump? And I thought it's okay. Like I said, it's okay. Like batters go through this. She's had a fantastic 2025. Her wicket today was very interesting to me because it was a very forced shot. It was a shot she wouldn't necessarily go for. She tried to play a cover drive, but it was almost a shot of good length or a good length delivery where she was nowhere near the pitch of the ball. And the reason she got an inside edge is because she was nowhere close to the pitch of the ball. And I thought this is not how she plays her drive. She's a fantastic driver of the ball. And the fact that she had to manufacture a drive off from a ball that wasn't even there to hit, yeah, that concerned me a little bit. I'm glad that the Indian team have a small break after this, but yeah, that shot caught me off guard because I wouldn't think Smriti would play that. But any batter, like when they go through a run of low scores, things can get to their head, and that's okay. You'll see Smriti score runs once again. Yeah, and then Shafali Verma chasing one wide outside the off stump. You do expect it from her, but you also expect better. Again, unfortunate losing 2 wickets under not in 2 overs wasn't ideal for India. But like I said, this is what I was scared about. Like Indian batters batting under lights is what I was scared about. Shafali Verma, yeah, was a very big disappointment. Because then you look at that and ask yourself, why chase that? Like, why chase the wide one? You have a day and a half to play. Why? Oh, yeah. You have 2.5 days to play. Today's day two. Yeah. So then why chase the wide one? But then she did, and then she got out.
Yeah, extremely unfortunate dismissals in that way. And before our live chat, comes after us claiming that we're ignoring them, let's actually take a few comments from
Yes.
here. Unknown Nobody did start off, the account by saying that Indian team were unprepared for this series. Again, I'm not sure if they're referring to like the entire series or just this test series. Takes me back to this point again. Can't call it a test series considering it's just a one-off test.
Yeah,
Ashwin, again here, do you have any comments to share on this? We've spoken about the lack of there being any red ball cricket for the girls,
correct.
in the lead up to this series itself. So do you like sort of agree with the sentiment that they were underprepared? But again, you can't blame them for it, right?
True, yeah. You can't blame them for it. They had no time to do anything because after the WPL, they had this straight away, and you had to play T20 cricket, and that's the focus right now because that's the World Cup that's coming up, and they did extremely well. So, do you take that away from the Indian team? Of course, they didn't live up to the expectations in the ODI format being the champions, but you also cut them some slack saying they won the T20 series, and at this point, that's the main series. But right, you also look at the test match and then ask yourself, isn't the test match important? If it's not, why play it in the first place? Yeah, they were underprepared, but like you said, you can't blame them because where do they have the time? Like, you can't. Where would they play practice matches? They didn't have the time between the ODI series and test matches. To be fair, if you think about it, they could have scheduled it better, but scheduling and women's cricket don't go hand in hand at this point. So that's a whole other topic. But yeah, they were underprepared, but it's not their fault at all.
Yeah, ideally would have loved to have like a tour match before
Yeah, that would have been
this
nice.
one-off test itself, which would have really helped players
Yep.
acclimatize with the conditions and with the format and the rigor, right, of ping pong
Yes.
cricket itself. I know nobody also going on to point here that a month of WPL only helped in T20Is. For longer formats, batters just could not switch. Probably a pattern that we saw, happen in the ODI series as well,
True. True.
percolated into this one-off test. We do agree with that. Team Super 330 also going on to say, I understand with the overdose of T20 and it must be difficult, right, to switch formats so quickly, but
Yep.
that can't be a reason to play like this. Again, Ashwin, do you have any thoughts to add here? Because I'm not sure how to address it. There's like arguments on both sides. It's difficult to
Yeah.
look at it in just binaries and be like, yeah, this is, the opinion I'm going to stick with. So do you have any thoughts on this?
You're right. I mean, I have a lot of opinions on this. Like, I have arguments, but I also have counter arguments. What I'm going to say is, and again, this is very easy for me to say, and but it's very easy. It's easier for the Australian side to be able to switch because of the amount of test matches they usually play, and because of how their domestic structure even is. With the Indian team, yeah, I'm just gonna say it's just a lot more difficult to switch, and it's difficult to switch. Like, I don't think people understand how difficult it is to switch as batters, going from T20 ODI, going from WPL to T20 to ODI and then Test match, knowing that you only have one Test match, knowing that you only have two innings. It's a very difficult switch. We saw Phoebe Litchfield struggle with it, and she's a fantastic batter. She's been in form in the last year. So the fact that if she can struggle with it, you wouldn't expect Smriti to struggle with it, but then she's been struggling a little bit off late. But yeah, so she struggled with it. And you have batters like Jamie, Pratika Rawal, who are so young in this format, and they don't even play this format a lot because the team doesn't play this format a lot. I think if that's the excuse, I will take that excuse as a fan because it is very understandable for why it's so difficult to switch, because it is difficult to switch, especially when you don't even play domestic multi-day formats a lot because there aren't a lot of them anyways.
No, I agree with your sentiment that a lot of people take it for granted that you can switch between the formats really easily, and they're professional players, so they should be able to do it
Yeah,
easily. But that's actually not the case, right? I think a lot of players have spoken on record about how challenging and how much of an uphill task it is to get mentally prepped and then actually prepare for the format itself.
true.
But taking nothing away from Australia's bowling itself, Ashwin, let's start off with Darcie Brown, right? The way she was using pace and movement with the pink
Yep.
ball early on, my word, just stuff of dreams, right? Again,
Yes.
how impressive was, just seeing this woman go about her craft. Again, not from an Indian fan perspective, was just, like pace bowling connoisseurs.
Oh yeah, we saw Darcy Brown do that yesterday, and we saw her do that once again today. It's just fantastic to watch. That is a fast bowler in her element doing her thing. The way she was able to control swing, and I say control swing as if it's the easiest thing to do. It's one of the most difficult things to do. But also be consistent with her line and lengths. It was absolutely incredible. I love watching Darcy Brown and Lucy Hamilton do her thing as much as I also enjoyed Kranti Gaud and Sayali Satghare do their thing. But Lucy Hamilton and Darcy Brown, oh my God. It was fast bowling at its finest, and Indian batters just throwing their wickets away at their finest. But yeah, them doing it's also because of the pressure they were building that the Indian batters felt like they had to play the way they did. And it's not an excuse, it's also one of the elements for why the Indian batters and why the score is 6 wickets down for India. It's the kind of pressure that Lucy Hamilton and Darcy Brown were able to build with the kind of bowling.
Yeah, 100%. Because, just seeing Darcie Brown do what she was doing at the other end. You had Lucy Hamilton too, right? An
Yes.
absolute breakthrough spell. I mean, mind you, this is again a girl on debut itself, continuing to impress for
All
the
right.
right
Oh yeah.
reasons.
I
And
forgot.
this innings, picking up
Yes.
3 wickets, again, like, what stood out to you, right? Just a lot about the way she was controlling her line and length and just bowling so beautifully, like $1 million on that pitch.
Yeah, and also the fact that she was using the bowling crease quite well for a debutant on debut. For a bowler on debut in the test match in the test format, you hardly see bowlers use the width of the crease. And as a fast bowler, she was doing that. And I'm sure she's picked it up with the white ball formats. But for her to do that in the red ball format was quite impressive. And the way, so what happens if you care enough to know? As a fast bowler, if you're bowling from close to the bowling stump, as a batter, you would think that the ball is coming closer to you and then she takes it away, for example. And if she's bowling wide off the crease, you would think the ball is coming, if the ball is angling into you and then the ball goes out. So both ways the ball is going out, but the way you would play the ball as a batter is quite different. And she was doing that very, very well as a bowler. And I thought that was very impressive, especially because she's so young and it's her debut. Good on her.
Yeah, giving us again a lot of reasons to just be very excited and keep our eyes peeled out, right? Every single time she plays the longest form. I just love to see her rhythm and the way she goes about her
Yep.
stuff. But I think what also sort of exposed, India's batting struggles was just the middle order, right? Not being able to stand up and deliver.
Yeah.
India's experienced batters, the likes. I use experience very carefully here, because Jamie Rodrigues, Harmanpreet Kaur, they just couldn't convert their starts, right? Again, has that become a sort of a recurring issue in this test, and something, Ashwin, you're probably looking at slightly with a more critical lens?
Yes. Jemmy Harmanpreet, to be fair, Deepti Sharma's dismissal was quite the setup, and I don't know if you'll get into it, but if you do, we'll talk about it then. But yeah, Jemmy's dismissal was quite disappointing. I understand where she's coming from. She's an attacking kind of player. She wanted to do something different, throw the bowler's line and lengths off, and I can understand it. I can understand the intention, and if she executed it well, we would be all praises for her. But I also thought leading up to that shot, she looked a bit uncomfortable. She tried to play a few defenses, and she didn't look all that great. When she walked into bat, I thought she looked confident. She was attacking. She played those beautiful cover drives. She fetched one outside the off stump. Even though she fetched it, it was a half volley. She reached the pitch of the ball, a beautiful cover drive for a boundary or a square drive, either or. But before her dismissal, yeah, she looked a bit uncomfortable, and I thought something would give. I didn't think a scoop was coming out of the way. I'll tell you that much. But I just thought something would give. Yeah, I didn't expect that from her. I think she'll be very disappointed going back to the hotel room.
Yeah, 100%. And I think what really compounded India's struggles were even the wickets, right, of Richa Ghosh and Deepti Sharma. At this point, you really felt India was down and out, six down.
Yes.
And, clawing their way out of trouble was just going to be impossible. I know people talk about Pratika Rawal in just a bit.
Yep.
Again,
Yep.
Ashwin, what do you make of these dismissals? Did you again here at that moment think, yeah, Australia seized control. They're definitely not letting go. And they've just been brilliant with their bowling?
Yeah. Harmanpreet Kaur, when she got out, I thought, well, that's how she plays, and it is what it is. Like, you can't really talk about that. Deepti Sharma was quite an interesting one because it was a setup, right? Lucy Hamilton, she was bowling short to her, and then there was a ball pitched up, which not only was it pitched up, it seemed back in quite a bit, and that would have been difficult as it is, but because it was followed up after a couple of short balls. Deepti Sharma would be expecting the short ball because she struggles against bounce, she struggles against on wickets that has bounce, and so in her head, maybe there's another short ball coming. When she sees the ball pitched up a little bit, it wasn't even a full length, it was a good length ball. She took a stride forward, not a lot, and the ball just seamed back in, and there was such incredible display of seam bowling, but also setup. When you watch the highlights, you won't see the setup, but I think the setup is a lot more important, because which is why Deepti Sharma was so, she just put the bat forward, not really confident with the shot, because I think, assuming of course, in her head she was expecting the short ball.
Yeah, I think Lucy Hamilton really got that wicket with a lot of strategy and thinking
Yes.
itself under Deepti Sharma quite strategically in that way. And amidst, flurry of these wickets falling, India really, really looking in trouble. Pratika Rawal, right, remaining unbeaten on 43
Yep.
was something
Yeah.
that kind of did surprise a lot of us. I think on comms too, once again, Lisa Stalika was mentioning, her whole psychology degree, having a lot of composure. I swear, I will just lose my
Yeah. I
calm if one more
cannot.
person mentioned
Yeah.
this.
My
Yeah,
God.
exactly. But again, just talking about Pratika and her knock itself, not her degrees and whatever she has studied, how impressive, right, was that temperament itself, considering the situation and the scoreboard pressure. Ashwin, again, I know we don't do predictions on the show, but do you suspect she could actually really ensure that India is able to, you know, just get those runs on the board and maybe, just maybe put a slight lead?
I want to say yes because again, tomorrow is a good batting wicket tomorrow when the session starts, and I know we'll get into that again to talking about tomorrow. But I think yeah, tomorrow is not going to be under lights. She's going to be on 43 and not a knot. And even though she got out in the first innings the way she did on under broad daylight, I'm expecting more from her. Yeah, and she batted extremely well. I thought there were a couple of close calls, her leaving the ball and the ball seeming back in, and there were a few reviews taken. But interestingly, I think her technique is quite out there for bowlers to take on. And by this I mean because of the way she brings her bat towards the ball, it's very angled if you think about it. And for her to get the outside edge is very, very easy, which is also why a lot of her drives goes towards point and not towards covers. It's because of the angle in which she brings down her bat. And every time she plays a defense or plays a drive, I'm so scared. I am so scared because I don't want to call her technically weak. I just think in the red ball format, if this was a multi match series, I think she would have been found out. But all that being said, she's making do with her technique. She scored 43, the highest run scorer in the team so far. So good on her. And I thought after she settled down, after those few close calls, she batted well. She was waiting for the ball. She was playing it as late as possible, even with whatever I said about her technique. She's scoring runs, so good on her.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of close calls there, some streaky ones too,
Yes.
and Slip Cotton was just very alert when
Yep.
she was out there. And again, just, focusing a little bit on Australia's bowling effort itself, Annabel Sutherland, right? I think anything she was touching today was just turning to gold.
Yeah.
Not just did she, contribute with the bat, we spoke about that earlier, but she picked up key wickets, right? And that is prized wickets of
Yes.
Jemima Rodrigues and Harmanpreet Kaur itself.
Yes.
Like again, how important do you think her spell was to sort of ensure that India was contained and restricted from going big?
I think Jemmy's wicket was very important because not only was she the best player from the team in the first innings, she looked confident today. She was playing her shots, and I thought this might just be the day for her today, but it didn't turn out to be. And I would say that's a batter's lapse. But what led up to that lapse was her bowling incredibly well until that point. And same thing to Harmanpreet Kaur. I thought Annabel Sutherland, just so impressed by her. And we've watched her bowl in the last couple of years, but I don't know what it is about this test match. She looks fitter. She can bowl overs after overs, and she's just on it from ball one. It's like she's been practicing just the over before she has to come into bowl. She's at the nets and she just runs into bowl and knows what to do. I think yeah, she's just been so impressive this entire test match with the ball, with the bat. I mean, an average of 80 odd and bowling average of 29 is no joke, and she's showing why it's no joke.
Yeah, and she's also showing why she's one of the premium all rounders and most
Yes.
sought after by a lot of franchises for the right reasons as well. And I
Hmm.
think we can talk a lot about Australia and their bowling discipline itself, right? The fact that they just kept things tight without allowing those partnerships to grow. And
Yep.
I think it's fair to say, right, we were very impressed with their collective bowling effort itself. But tomorrow, right, we still have Sneh Rana, who's out there with Pratika Rawal, to keep India alive. They're already six down. They trail by 20 runs. Ashwin, how's the situation looking right? I mean, looking like right? Do you think Australia will really come in, challenge them? Because that's pretty much the DNA of an Australian team itself. And
Yep.
India probably overnight can figure some things out.
Yeah, I feel like okay, so something that impressed me with Sneh Rana too, and I thought Pratika Rawal picked it up really well in the end, was how late they were playing to swing bowlers. So you do two things against swing. One, you make sure the ball doesn't swing enough before it reaches you, which is why batters usually stand outside the crease by a lot, which we have seen a lot in this test match. Or you play the ball very, very late, making sure the ball swings, and then you play a shot. So if it's swinging out when you play very late, you can just leave the ball. Or when it's swinging in, you can play whatever you want to play. And I thought Sneh Rana did that really well. And by saying that, tomorrow morning, like today morning, like yesterday morning, it shouldn't swing as much. It might just swing a little bit. It'll continue to seam because this pitch allows seam bowling, but I don't think it's going to swing as much. And if they can do what they did today, replicate that tomorrow, I think it should be okay. I think Pratika Rawal, if she just settles down in the first 15, 30 minutes, I think she's on to a big score. And Sneh Rana, she can bat, she can hold the bat, and holding the bat is an understatement. She can really bat. And if she does what she did today, just playing it late, just stick to your basics. You don't have to do anything out of the blue. Just stick to your basics. Defense. Do what Ellyse Perry and Annabel Sutherland did in terms of basics. Just stick to your game, and that's what they did, and that's what they should do tomorrow. If they do that with less swing and hopefully a little less seam, I think India might just. I mean, I don't know if they can save the test match, but let's just say might give us a little bit of hope.
Yeah, with Sneh Rana and Pratika Rawal out there, if they really stitch in a crucial partnership, make the most of those first 30, 45 minutes itself, we could really make a match out of this, right? But
Yes.
even realistically, right, considering they're just trailing slightly, Ashwin, what do you think is a realistic target that India should keep, right? Do they look to accelerate
Hmm.
tomorrow? You look to, focus a lot on your batting itself, go for that draw? Like, what do you think the mindset ideally should be?
With day three tomorrow, going for the draw will be far fetched. But if they're that optimistic, so good on them. But I think with batters like Pratika Rawal, I don't know if you can attack from the get go. I don't know how confident they'll be with them attacking, especially because they're already six down. And losing one more wicket would be in seven down, and then you are at the tail end. With this Indian team, you have a tail. And so I don't know how confident they would be with attacking. Honestly, I don't have an answer to that because realistically, I would hope that India get a lead of about, I don't know, even 150 is so less. But like 150, 200 maybe to make a match out of it. But getting 200 would be quite a bit from here. If they get to 200 lead, so that's scoring, oh my God, that's scoring 220 more runs from here on would be magnificent. But I don't know if that's going to happen. You tell me, Neha. You tell me what do you think a realistic score would be from here on. What do you think they will get versus what do you think they should get?
To be very honest, considering the way things are going right now, I think Australia will, head back with just a lot of confidence, right? They've had that sort of a day, and India would be, ruining a lot of missed opportunities. So I really think Australia is going to come out again, all guns blazing. India might be able to, sort of overcome that deficit of runs, but I don't look at them, setting Australia a target of more than say like 100, in
Yeah,
that regard. I feel like
true.
it's just like a little bit of a lost battle in that case. But just getting out like early and then losing by an innings and all would be like
Yeah,
very
I would hope
shameful.
not.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it would be very hurtful in that regard. I really did think, the match would go on for like the entire 4 days. We would have, a day four discussion of being like, hey, there should have been a day five and all of that.
Right.
But unfortunately, that's not the situation. But again, we're just manifesting, putting it out there. Hopefully,
True,
Pratika
true,
and Sneh Rana can put in like a really, really big one. We've seen Sneh
true.
Rana, right, really hold her
Yeah.
bat, especially that 2021 England test itself, right? Her and
Hmm.
Tanya Bhatia doing something special.
Oh,
But in
yes,
this,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
the scales are really tipped in Australia's favor. So if they can pull off something like that, it would be amazing.
Right.
And yeah, just let's hope for that. Again, just going to our live chat itself, Ashwin, some very interesting comments coming in. Team
Oh,
Super goes on to say Alana King scored more runs than Smriti, Shafali, Jemmy, Harman, Deepti, and Richa today. Well, there are
yeah.
days like this where you just have to accept the reality, and I mean, it
True,
is what it is.
true.
Yeah. Team Super also mentioning very clearly, can someone remind them that leaving the ball is also an option? I think here's where I really want to give credit to Australia, the way they were so deceptive, right, with their line and
Yes.
breath, really confusing, mixing it up. Due credit to them.
Yeah,
And
true.
India's really not like cut out for the format at the moment, considering they just haven't played a test match, man, since 2024. The
Yeah.
last they played also was in home conditions. And playing down under at Perth, no one would sign up
Yeah,
for
and
that.
also the way Annabel Sutherland was able to swing the ball in and out, and Harmanpreet Kaur had no idea what to do with it. Yeah, I think the Australian bowlers did quite well. Yes, they should leave the ball a lot more. I mean, the way Richa Ghosh got out, the way Harmanpreet Kaur got out, the way Shafali Verma got out. Yeah, I think they should leave the ball a lot more. But yeah, like you said, they haven't had enough practice to even think about all of that.
Yeah, and I hope this sort of brings into perspective that we should have a lot more women's tests and like proper domestic
Yes.
structure and matches to sort of support matches like this. Otherwise, it just becomes a dead rubber where the home team really walks away with all
Yeah.
accolades. Unknown nobody also talking about. I think technical adjustment was just not made for the longer format. Mostly, hard hand batting itself. Again, right? We spoke about the exposure to white ball cricket and not just playing enough red ball cricket.
True.
So probably that. Asta also going on to ask us a question. Does this batting performance suggest India's top order needs more mental resilience in tests than just T20 skills? Ashwin, think about this, right? You play probably what? One, maximum two tests in a year.
Yeah.
Does it even like merit a conversation that batters should really sort of work on the mental resilience in tests when there's no incentive, there's no WTC, you're playing like just one-off domestic comps too. So do you sense like any merit like in them wanting to build their test skills?
Yeah, I think it's a bit unfair to say that they need to build their mental resilience and not just improve their T20 skills because, first of all, the T20 World Cup's around the corner. But like you said, they also play a lot more T20 cricket. So, as a cricketer trying to play for your country, you would rather be better at a format that you're playing a lot than good at a format that you're playing once a year or once in 2 years. As much as, and I'm sure, Asta, you're a Test cricket fan, and both of us here are Test cricket fans, and we want to see more Test matches. If that was the case, then yeah, you have the incentive to be a better test player, and you would probably get more test purists that way. But at this point, they don't need test purists. You don't want to necessarily. I mean, I could be the best T20 batter in the women's game and the best ODI batter and get out for a duck in both the innings in the test match, and I couldn't care less because I know I'm going to play T20 and ODIs far more often, anyways.
Yeah, and I think this is the case with a lot of men cricketers too, right? They barely get to play any test cricket, and you see,
Yeah.
right, there's a lot of skill gap in that way. Again, we don't have concrete answers, Asta, for this question, but hopefully, more nuanced one coming. Maybe tomorrow when we have a similar discussion on what is the
Yes.
future of women's test cricket itself. Anna, nobody also going on to, okay, rather say, India had the best chance of making history. They threw it in the bin. I know we're being a little harsh here. We did have those sort of expectations, right? Considering how India has been such a dominant team in tests. But mind you, all of those tests did happen in like India. Little
Yeah.
bit of recency bias, like, oh, they'll do well abroad as well. I mean, they did do well, right? Even the pink ball test we played in 2021, then versus England as well, in the similar timeline itself. But I mean, Ashwin, again, you wouldn't really fault the team, right? Like they did. It's like no one goes in to lose, right?
Yeah, I mean, saying that India had a chance of making history is a bit of an overstatement because if you really thought, right, so India would have had a chance to win this match, probably. But again, that's a probably because Australia at home in a pink ball, they are going to dominate, and you just know that. The only conversation is how much are they going to dominate, and at this point, they're dominating a lot. But the conversation before the Test match would have been where what are moments where India can actually win? And I thought it should have been yesterday when India got to bat first. As much as both the captains wanted to bowl, the best batting conditions would have been in broad daylight, and we've seen that over 2 days. And I thought India just didn't make use of that. But saying that India had a chance of making history is a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, in all fairness, I agree with you that going for the win would have been really tough. But I did think probably a draw was still on cards.
Yeah,
But with the
true.
way the match is heading now, I think we are possibly looking at a loss itself.
Yes.
Asta going on to also say the main difference is Australia has reliable batters at 5, 6, 7. India does not have that. Whether India has not, I mean, again, this is debatable, right? Because Australia is
True.
just blessed with a flurry of all rounders who are so gifted in both the departments that they just don't make you feel like, oh, do they like
True.
have any weaknesses? I think it's something Nat Brunt herself had spoken about recently too.
Yeah.
That a team like Australia is again just so enviable, right? Because of the kind of strength they have. But India, again, to their credit, are trying to build that course. We have to be
Yes. Yes.
patient with them. Ashwin, any other thoughts to add here?
No, I think you've covered it all. You've got it spot on. And you're right. India are trying to build it up. We have someone like a Kashvi Gautam making a debut in this match, and she's someone who can hold the bat and can bowl quite a bit. I feel like over the years, you will see that improvement. Australia has had that for a very long time, and they've been able to build that for a very long time. And I feel like the Indian team and other countries around the world are learning from the Australian team. Before, it was mostly they're just before people were just fearful of the team. Now you're learning from the best team in the world, and I think India's taking the step in the right direction, and we will see more batters in five. I mean, we have reliable batters 5, 6, and 7. Maybe not in this format, but that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, we will see more all rounders coming into the into the just setup in the in the Indian national setup.
And again, I feel the sample size is really small for us to, judge and be like, hey, we just don't have batting at 5, 6, 7. Again,
Yeah,
these are
true.
challenging conditions, and to expect wonders might be, a bit of a stretch and too much to ask for in that
Yes,
regard. And Team Super going on to add. Actually, I think today you experts do the talking. I'm stumped. Thank you, Pratika. And I bow my hat, to Perry and Sutherland. Again, just to put it out there, we are not experts. We're just fans like you, probably with just like
true,
mics in front of us and
true.
armchair critics at best. But then, yes, Pratika did really well. And, Perry and Sutherland once again showing, right, why they are, I don't know, just like such icons and such legends, breaking records left, right, and center for fun, literally. Uh, I know nobody also going on to point here that this test has shown the weakness of the team and the difference between the Indian team and the Australian team itself. Again, Ashwin, do you think people are really like going to pass some harsh judgments on this? The fact that the test is going on right now, people are just watching it because, hey, the Men's T20 World Cup has
Yeah,
like a break day and the finals happening like tomorrow and all of that.
yeah.
But again, probably us being a little harsh with our criticism in general. And India is not as bad as a test team as, people are making it out to be right now.
Yeah, and I also think it's because of the 3-0 ODI series that this has like become a little more limelight. I think, yeah, the 3-0 was a bit unexpected. I'll tell you that much. But this test, the way the test match is going on, I'm a little disappointed with the way the Indian batters are getting out, but I'm not disappointed. I mean, I'm not surprised by the scoreline because you would expect that. I mean, yes, the test team is weak, but that's because it's not their fault it's weak. They've had no opportunities to become strong. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like gathering 12 of your friends and going for a cricket tournament and playing as a team for the very first time. As much as you know those 12 guys very well, you probably not do as well because you're playing for the very first time together in a tournament. It's something like that.
Yeah, especially in the test side of things, it's really been a while since this same group did really
Yes.
play. So again, it's not like us defending the team, but just looking at it as objectively as possible. Asta also going on to point in the chat that Deepthi is not going well after the World Cup. She's had a rough WPL now this series. Also, Richa's wicket keeping is a matter of concern. I know, this whole athleticism, the fitness aspect, and Richa's wicket keeping would kind of come under the scanner. But Ashwin, do we have options in our domestic side of things? A lot of people have been talking up Shipra Giri, you have Nandini Kashyap as well, there's Mamta
True.
Madiwala, just so many options there. But international cricket ready, right? That is like an entirely different pedigree, and Richa hasn't really done that much wrong, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. No, I agree with that. I think also with Richa's X Factor batting, you can't remove her from the team. But I do get the sentiment about her wicket keeping. I've been going on from the ODI. I've been going on about her wicket keeping since she started wicket keeping. There are some blinders she takes, by the way. Don't get me wrong. There's some blinders she takes. But I think overall, technically, she's very weak with her wicket keeping skills. And I don't think she doesn't move as quick. And that can be for a variety of different reasons. But yeah, I think her wicket keeping is a concern. Not It's not a big concern, it's just a thing. But she's improved over the years, and you would hope that she continues to improve. And even Deepti Sharma, the player, I don't know if this is a very touchy topic, but I just don't think their fitness is talked about enough, especially Deepti Sharma. I think she really needs to work on her fitness, the way she runs between wickets. I also feel like her bowling has come down a little bit because of the fitness and even her batting. I feel like if she improves on that, automatically she'll get better. And I don't know if that's happening. I can't say from the outside. I don't know what she's doing inside the dressing room or even on the field. But I feel like, yeah, I just think that fitness should be talked about a little bit and it should be under scrutiny because if it's not, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, I think it is a little bit of a taboo topic itself, right? Because in general, right, it'll be like,
Yeah.
commenting on a player's body itself. But this is a point like a lot of fans have been talking about, even experts in that way. Even unknown nobody, in the comments, very next comment was this itself: that stamina, athleticism, mental resilience, consistency are some points that the team definitely needs to work on. And hopefully, this one off test serves as a wake up call in that regard.
Yeah.
Because, hey, they play a test later this year at Lord's too, right?
True,
Another
true.
iconic venue, and you
Yes.
wouldn't want to mess up, right, on an occasion
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, further, a lot more comments coming in. Unknown nobody says, I thought Pratika batted perfectly. Her control was outstanding. As optimists, we will hope that this continues tomorrow as well, right?
That's
I
true.
mean, yeah, we would just hope for that.
Yes.
Again, Ashwin, talking a little bit about team combinations. Unknown nobody goes on to say, I genuinely miss Sri Charni. She would have been so useful and have gotten like a good exposure and experience as well playing in these conditions. Again, if India were to slot in Sri Charni in place of whom, right? Would it mean someone like a Sneh Rana or a not Deepti Sharma, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's what I was gonna ask you. That actually, who would she like come in place of? Because Sneh Rana and Deepti Sharma, as much as they're experienced spinners, they also bat, and this team needs batters because Sayali Satghare and Kranti Gaud can't. I mean, Sayali Satghare, she stayed yesterday, so good on her. But Kranti Gaud, I don't know how much she can hold the bat. I want to say I don't want to be too harsh, so I'm going to be a diplomat. And so you wouldn't want them, right? And Sri Charini can't really hold the bat as much. And as much as she's a variation in the kind of spinner that she is, she's a left arm spinner. Yeah, where would you slot her in? You can't play three spinners in Australian conditions in WACA. And you yesterday we were already talking about how they might be a fast bowler short. So as much as she might have been a good addition, there's just no place for her.
Yeah, it would have been really difficult to slot her in that playing 11. But one player I really did think would have probably added a lot of value was maybe Arundhati Reddy, right? I think the way
True
she
that,
made
yeah.
most of these Aussie conditions, seeing her with that pink ball, again, I think it was a real, real miss
Yep.
on India's part. Again, not just simply nitpicking or, this again, hindsight bias probably talking, but
Yeah.
I think Arundhati would have made for a, genuinely good inclusion too. Our next comment is again quite interesting, Ashwin. I'm not sure if you have thought about this because I haven't. All WPL Australia players mostly failed in the series, right? Probably referring to like Georgia Wall, Phoebe
Yep.
Litchfield, I think Beth Mooney,
Beth Mooney, yeah.
Ash Gardner as well, right? To that
Yes,
extent,
yes.
Alana King again didn't play any games in the WPL, but was still
True.
there.
Yeah. That is true.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very interesting. I didn't really think of it until now. And that makes me think about things. But to be fair, they also play T20 cricket. After that, they also play the ODI format. Yeah, but that's interesting. See, maybe that is a side. It's not if the Australians can struggle, so can the Indians. But yeah, that is very interesting. I didn't really think of it. I just want to say it's a happy coincidence. I don't know if it's happy, but like it's a coincidence. I don't know how much of it would have actually mattered to them. But if we are going to talk about the Indian team and defend the Indian team's performance using that excuse, we could possibly do the same thing for Australia. Maybe.
Yeah, I think in this case, like correlation doesn't necessarily imply causation because we probably have to
Yeah,
look across all three series and then sit and make like an analysis. But interesting
yes,
observation, I'd still say.
that is
And
true.
because we were, I think, commenting just so much on like the entire fielding side of things, Asta goes on to say in the start it was looking like Jemmy was the only fielder. She was here, there, everywhere,
Yes,
right? An absolutely electric fielder. I mean, there's only so much that one fielder can do, but good on
true.
her. Very impressed with her
Yes.
and the way she was going about. And Ronak again going on to add here, Pratika looked like the one who actually understands her test game. Others didn't seem to get their heads around how to transition from that limited overs mindset to test. So, Ashwin, again, we've spoken about this, nothing more to add, right? Like, I sort of agree with the
Yeah.
sentiment, but yeah. I mean, it is what
Yeah.
it is at this point. And moving on, Syed also goes on to say Australians were bowled out for 323. That means Australia, who were having a lead of 125. India did a good job by restricting Australia to just 125, but India's woes continue in the second innings. Well, that's pretty much
Yes.
been the story, my friend, of
Yeah. The
this
fact
test
that
match.
the fact that he's written that in all caps, either he's very excited about it, or he's just very disappointed, or he wanted his comment to stand out. Either ways, it's worked.
I mean, yeah, Syed always comes out with the most astute observations and
Yeah.
takeaways from the match, and this one, pretty much sums it in
Yeah.
that way. We also have another comment coming in from Ravi. Hey, if you're new here, please make sure to subscribe to both our channels. But goes on to ask a valid question: skill gap between both the teams, as this format requires proper technique and skill itself. Again, Ashwin, I'm not sure if we are qualified enough to answer this because hey, sample size is just one. Like, how do you
Yeah. True.
decide that? Because the same Australian side, when they did play in India in that 2023 series, looked like they were just all over the
All
place,
over the
getting
place. Yeah.
smashed all over the like park. But now in their home conditions, doing much better. Agree with the skill gap side of things?
Yeah, I completely agree with the skill gap conditions because it's in their home turf. It's just very easy to win. I mean, it's not very easy to win. Don't quote me on that. It's just easier to win when you're playing at home. And of course, the skill gap is insane because these Australian players have been brought up, born and brought up in these conditions. And so, if you as Indians go there without any preparation and having match practice, of course, the skill gap's going to be quite big.
Yeah, and it will probably come, glaring as much as obviously as this itself.
Yeah,
Another observation coming in from Unknown Nobody that goes on to say all teams around the world are bringing in new faces, improving tactically, athletically. I'm seeing India somewhat stagnate and not trying out new options. Actually, Ashwin, let's talk about Australia itself. The fact that
yeah,
this is a one-off test, they are going in the Georgia Wall and Phoebe Litchfield to open. Again, these are potential superstars,
yeah.
being pegged as the generational talents, like after Annabel Sutherland in that regard. But India again, do you feel like they're going a little conservative, not giving their new faces enough chances? Because hey, Renuka Singh Thakur is not there, but that bowling
True.
lineup still looks new in that way. But do you agree with this? Like we are probably stagnating a little bit, like the tactically,
I
strategically side of things.
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, Smriti Shafali, you would want them to open. They've been successful in the format. Pratika Rawal is a new face, and you have given a chance at number three. Jemmy is your number four. She is as much as she's experienced and all of that. She's so young. She's just 25. Harmanpreet Kaur. Who else would captain the team? Then you have Deepti Sharma. She's experienced. You can't simply drop her. Richa Ghosh is another one X factor wicket keeper you have. Sneh Rana, you will have to play her. And then you have three fast bowlers who are making their debut, who are all new faces. So if anything, I mean, you've got new faces, you've got young players. Just because the world is doing one thing, you don't necessarily need to do it. And just because you need new faces doesn't mean you drop players who don't deserve to be dropped. I mean, these guys deserve to be in the playing 11. They pick themselves. So then I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah, I think you answered that really well, Ashwin, because, India has been one team. There's a stat also that goes to prove this. I think this is in the ODI format side of things. Hypercoast tweeted this, that India's handed out like a lot of debuts to players, in the ODI
Yes.
side of things. And
Yeah.
Australia, on the other hand, is really, being careful with who gets those opportunities. And you've seen, right, the kind of
Yes.
outcomes and results that has led to. So, again, necessarily bringing in new faces doesn't bring in those results. And I think India, to their credit, have sort of made the most of, domestic uh, influx into like the international team. WPL players also being rewarded for their performances. So again, probably we're going to sit on the fence on
True.
this one. Ravi also going on to point out that my assumption was Indian batting may do well, but the bowling could struggle. It turned out to be quite the opposite. What has happened to our batting? They never look confident. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
I
sure
think
what
it's
to add here.
Yeah, I think it's just the Indian batters who are attacking didn't adapt themselves, unfortunately, and it's not their fault, but it is also their fault. It's a bit of a thing. The Indian bowlers did quite well because I mean the conditions helped them last night, and I think the confidence just helped them today. And I mean today we saw a bit of a downfall in the beginning when the partnership was going on, and then they picked it up. I didn't think the Indian bowlers were going to do bad. I thought even though they were debuts, these bowlers are quite good bowlers, and we saw them on display yesterday. Yeah, the batters. Yeah, you did expect a lot more from these batters.
Yeah, I mean, agree with that. We did expect a lot from the batters, but not taking anything away from the bowlers, right? I think a lot of people were criticizing them with the selection itself, right? Hey, this is such an inexperienced bowling lineup. But to their credit, they've actually bowled out of their skin to keep India alive in
True.
the match. And I hope they go to do that ahead too.
Yeah.
Another new face, I think, here in corner taken quickly. Hey, if you're new
Nice.
here, please make sure to subscribe to both our channels. Goes on to share an observation: streaky drives, laps, premeditation, T20 bozos playing ping ball test at Perth, set up for an absolute humiliation. Again, slightly a little harsh there, not slightly, like very harsh there. Uh,
Yeah.
it's again not a humiliation in that way, right? It's just a one-off test. Who knows, right? If there's a test series in that way, this could be a
And
plea for
it's
having a bigger
yeah,
series, right?
yeah, and dude, I don't know if you're a dude. I apologize, but to say T20 bozos is a bit of an overstatement. These girls just won the ODI World Cup, so I don't know what you're talking about. If if you're gonna be this harsh, then at least come with some numbers, is what I'm gonna say. I mean, it might sound harsh to you, and I'm not trying to be harsh, but calling them T20 bozos is a bit of a harsh statement to make right when they won the ODI World Cup. So half of these players were in the team, so I mean, I don't know what you're going on about, but still subscribe to the channel. Get her to 1,000 subscribers.
And get cricket by JB to 100K. But no, in all fairness, yeah, like I think even when we're being as critical as possible, probably backing it up with numbers would really,
Yeah,
really help, or even just like historical references and
yeah,
context. I think that would massively, massively help drive this
true.
conversation. And then nobody again, bring us back to conversation by saying, hey, I think India's goal should be to get, a partnership of 100 plus
True.
and then try to build more. Hopefully, Pratika and Sneh Rana, probably the last of the recognized batters. I don't know if
Yes.
Kashmi Gautam can be counted as one, and Sayali Satghare, because both of them, bat like way high
Yeah.
up for their domestic side. So I think we can definitely be, optimistic in that way. Another comment coming on Pratika Rawal itself. The comment goes on to say, I think she's the most technically sound batter. Some were calling her to be dropped from ODIs. Again, Ashwin, do you think it's probably like recency bias? People are like, oh, mixing the formats together.
Yeah.
Like, agreed. People, this is like two different conversations in itself, right?
Right. So I'm gonna say this: Southern is not possibly gonna like it, and it's quite subjective, to be honest. I don't agree with the fact that Pratika Rao is most technically sound. I think she has a very, very obvious flaw to her, and it's almost always looked at as a fast ball, and we saw that today. It's either ball to the stump, and because she brings the bat in an angle, she probably miss. She more often than not will miss the ball. If not, bowl the ball fifth or sixth stump outside the off stump, and because again she brings the ball bat. My God, she brings the bat in an angle. The chances of her getting an outside is very, very high. Now that being said, A lot of techniques can be dissected like this, but we saw her make do with her technique. She scored 43 runs and she's still batting. She's still not out. But yeah, like you said, recency bias. I don't think she should have been dropped from the ODI team. Absolutely not. She had a fantastic 2025 season. In fact, she and Smriti Mandhana are already the best opening pair in the ODI format in the history of ODI cricket. That's just something. The fact that they are already says something.
Yeah, I mean, there is this tendency, right, of us to mix formats as well. But taking away nothing from Pratika, I know we did talk a lot on this show itself with the other panelists about the strike rate and all of that. But I think dropping was something none of us did eventually
True.
consider, because who are the other options? And again, we go back to the Hurleen, the old
Yeah.
debate, and all of that, which takes us on another tangent itself. Team Super going on to say my expectations before the tournament kicked off were, in the T20s 2-1, ODIs 1-2, and a draw in the test. Was that a realistic assumption? To be very honest, I'm probably going to admit it. I also did think it was going to be that, in favor of India, winning the T20 series 2-1, probably
Right.
losing the ODI series, 1-2, and probably a draw itself. Ashwin, again, on the similar boat, or we're just going in with an open mind for the series?
I did think we were going to win the T20 series. I didn't really think anything about the ODI series. I didn't know what we were going with, especially with Shafali and Pratika. I was just interested to see the batting lineup. The test match, I did see Australia winning the test match. I didn't think it would be a draw, especially because it's pink ball and with India's batters coming in. Yeah, I did think Australia will win. I just didn't think they would just dominate so much. I thought that we would go till fourth day and we might you never know what happens tomorrow. They could pull off the innings of a lifetime. But that being said, yeah, I didn't think Australia would be dominating as much.
Fair enough. I mean, each one to their own expectations from this series itself. Unknown Nobody also going on to probably add on to that earlier comment of that stagnation somewhere coming in India strategically. Goes on to say, in ODIs was expecting some more debuts. Let's actually take a moment, pause on this, right? When you think of the ODIs itself, the last time India did play down under, they faced like a proper, like humiliation, so to say, right? They
Yeah.
lost that ODI series. Now they come into this series with the entire tag of being like, world champions and all of that. But Ashwin, again, realistically, you really thought that, hey, there were going to be a few debuts or India would stick to a combination that sort of worked out well for them, right, in the World Cup?
Yeah, I honestly thought we might see a new captain for starters. I thought Harmanpreet Kaur might step down. I thought she might just retire. It's a good time. She just won the World Cup as a captain. Might as well. Okay, maybe not retire, but that might be a little far fetched. But step down as a captain possibly. And I thought we would see a new captain. I didn't think more debutants because if a team is working, might as well just continue making it work. Like polish it a lot more. Why break something that's not broken? If that's the saying, I don't really know if that's the saying, but that's not the saying. No, I'm sure there's something wrong with that saying. But what is the saying?
Don't fix something that ain't broken.
That.
I
There you
fix
go.
it.
That is the saying. But yeah, I thought the ODI team was fine. I just expected a new captain.
Interesting one there, and honestly, just looking at the squad itself, I think besides G. Kamlin, I'm not sure who else could have possibly made
True.
their
True.
debut, so to say. And where would you slot in her,
True.
right? It would again like reject that entire batting order or like probably that lower middle order itself. Where does Richa play? It's just confusions at this point,
Yeah.
right? We have another comment coming in from Shadzin here, a friend of the podcast, goes on to
Hey.
say, now that they don't want to play day-night tests in men's ashes, even with all the preparations, do you think India shouldn't have agreed to play one, or once they agreed, could have helped them sort of get prep? Agree with this? Like, what are your thoughts, Ashwin?
Yeah, I quite enjoy the ping ball test because of how much it assists the bowlers. But Australia off late has always assisted the bowlers. So I don't mind like teams saying they don't want to play the ping ball test. I think Joe Root after the Ashes, men's Ashes, of course, did say that like he doesn't know why there's a ping ball test to begin with. And I get that sentiment because ping ball test is advantage Australia straight away because they play so much more ping ball test regardless of if it's the men's or the women's team. But yeah, if you have agreed on it, yeah, might as well get some prep time. But I don't think they cared enough. And when I say they, I say BCCI cared enough to give prep time or any of that to do anything about anything. But I agree. I agree with what he said. Yes.
Yeah, and here's probably where, having like a players association would really help, right? Hearing out players what they really think. Or sometimes you
Yeah.
just like blindly have to follow what the administration wants you to do. But having
True.
like a representative for yourself on that board could really help. And yeah, let's see how that eventually does end up panning out. I think again, just continuing the discussion about that stagnation part of things, India having given some debuts. I know nobody goes on to say Indian weakness is batting backup, wicket keeping backup, tall bowlers. Okay, that's a very specific one. Team
Yeah.
could have tried future players and different combinations in ODIs itself. Actually, in one way, I see where I don't know where he's coming from. For the uninitiated, this ODI series was not a part of the ICC Women's Championship itself. So India
Right.
could have really gone ballistic and tried out like a lot of different things.
True.
But Ashwin, again, do you sense like India could have maybe worked on these weaknesses, which sort of didn't get as glaringly exposed during the World Cup itself, but could be, like teamed, no, Mission 2029, something they could have
Yeah.
worked on?
Interestingly, the batting backup weakness is something we were talking about when we were building up to the World Cup and making videos up to the World Cup, right? Though that being said, I don't if I could go back in time, I would still expect the same teams taking on the field for the ODI series. As much as it's not part of the championship, it's still an ODI series against Australia. It's still the Australian side. It's the best side, and you want to win in Australia. You want to make history there too. So I wouldn't have experimented. I would want the best players of the Indian team take on the field to take on the best team in the world. As much as we are ODI champions, and this is also no, that's not right. I was going to say our first ODI series. That's not true. We did play an ODI series, but this is our first ODI series in Australia against Australia after beating them in the semi-final of the ODI World Cup. So the Australian side, they've talked about it. A lot of players talked about how they're waiting for the Indian team to come to Australia to at least beat them, to have feel better about their semi-final loss. So again, you will want your best team take on the field against Australia.
And another way to look at this, Ashwin, is probably also say, had they gone on to tinker a lot with, the squad combinations, the playing 11 itself, there'd be an entire legion of fans who'd be like, hey, how can you not give the longer rope to
Yeah,
some of the
true,
players? How can you just, break this very settled combination itself, which would again
true.
take us on an entirely different argument. And the fact that they announced the squad too, right? Like when the
Yeah,
WPL is happening itself, I think this new selection panel just wants to be more accountable and give their
yes,
players that due credit and respect that they deserve. So there's again like two ways of looking at it. But guys, we're almost reaching the end of our discussion as well. We have another gripping day of play tomorrow. We will talk a lot about that
yeah.
too. But unknown nobody going on to ask us, why is Amanjot getting the backseat, right? Again, pegged as the next big thing in all rounders. Pooja Vastrikar constantly injured. Amanjot was being looked at as that constant option. Again, is it because of injuries, workload management that probably India is just managing it as much as possible?
I would hope so. I mean, I wouldn't know, but I would hope so because Amanjot got, I think, with the ball in the last. I don't know if in the WPL, I don't remember her numbers, but in the last couple of matches, she has been expensive, but that's okay. Like you said, she's supposed to be the next big all rounder, and she does well with the bat. She does well both with the bat and ball. And I would hope that it's a workload management thing. But again, like if she was here, who would she replace? Because you would want fast bowlers, not just all rounders. As much as Kashmi Gautam can bat, she is a proper bowler. But if you look at this team, who was she going to replace to begin with? I'm quite sad that Amanjot Kaur is getting the backseat. But except look at the playing 11 and you tell me who she's going to replace.
It's honestly a very difficult one, and again, a conversation for another day, right? Because that would upset team combinations, and
Yeah.
again, why be fixing something like that? That isn't even an issue to start off with. But maybe in limited over side of things, it is probably still a conversation starter. Like probably Amanjot should get those
Yep.
opportunities considering the impact and value she brings in. Probably our last comment, Asta goes on to say the schedule is also clashing. Imagine, the craze for Rohit and Virat, coming back in ODIs. At the other end, you have the Women's T20 World Cup. Ashwin, this actually became a massive thing, right? I'm sure you saw it on Twitter as well. A lot of people upset that what is the scheduling, right? You have a marquee event like the Women's T20 World Cup, and people are still going to obsess. The broadcasters are going to entirely focus their attention on Roko itself in ODIs. Again, do you have any thoughts to share in this regard? Like, anyways, as if people are listening to us, I mean people as in the broadcasters.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like if it was the other way around, it wouldn't have happened at all. If it was the men's T20 World Cup, but then the argument is the men's T20 World Cup will get more viewers and stuff. I can't take this argument. But yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know what the scheduling is. I mean, why would you keep it on India's matches, especially when a T20 World Cup is going on? I don't know why you would do it. But then I was also looking at timings, but that also doesn't make sense. Like for example, India Pakistan, I think is on. It starts at 7 p.m., but the ODI match will still be going on, and people might just watch that and like, why? There's an India World Cup game going on. And then there's an argument that these two, so men's cricket and women's cricket, are different viewership, but again, like give people the opportunity to at least watch it. If you have the men's ODI going on with Rohit and Virat and all of that playing, then you won't give them a chance to watch it, which is quite a disappointment. Like, I understand the celebration of Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, they're legends of the game, so might as well. But like, not, but don't have it the same day when another team is playing the goddamn World Cup.
Yeah, agree with you on that one, man. Like, why divide the audience, right?
Yeah,
When there's
exactly.
already
Yeah.
like so many distractions and things in that way. But yeah,
Yes.
folks, I know we did start off with reviewing day two's play, but it went to a lot of interesting conversations thanks to your comments coming in. But right now, India do end day two at 105 for six, looking like they're in a very very tricky situation, still trailing by 20 runs. Agree with
True.
Anu Nobody here that hopefully tomorrow's sun can be bright for Team India. Let's be as optimistic as possible. They say right, not every day is a Sunday, so hopefully India will hope that they have a
That is
great
true.
day and can push this match to another day. But yeah, folks, that pretty much does conclude our discussion as well. First things first, thank you so much, Ashwin. Again, subjected you to another
Always.
1 hour plus conversation, and
That's
you were like an
okay.
absolute champ through it. To all the folks who joined us in the live chat as well, you really nudged us to some very interesting areas and
Yes.
thought provoking discussions as well. We really, really appreciate you. And if you've stuck around till here, please make sure to like this stream, share it across. Do subscribe to Cricket by JB as well. I've linked them in the description. And
Hey,
yeah,
thank you so
folks,
much. That's so sweet.
and yeah, folks, until next time, and next time, as in until tomorrow, hopefully, we will come with still smiling faces. Stay safe, take care. Let's keep enjoying Test cricket.